So the New Zealand Bird Atlas is officially turned 1, and we're keen to check in to see how we're going. And to be honest, we're going pretty well. There's been over 50,000 checklists submitted, with more than 700 people getting involved.
So of the over 3,000 grid squares, over 2,000 of these have had data in them, which is over 70% of the grid squares.
Overall, there were a whopping 537,533 observations in year 1 of the Atlas. From these, we detected 255 species across the country.
You'll see it's clear from those figures that it's been a massive team effort, so well done everybody. We still have over 4 years to go in the project, and we're keen for everyone to keep involved. We've seen the number of checklists and the number of people participating in the Atlas increase season on season in the Atlas, and clearly we're keen for that to continue. So please invite your friends, family and colleagues to take part.
Autumn was a little bit different this year and a little bit worse than a lot of people hoped or expected, with the nation having to deal with a global pandemic. We realised this was a super difficult time for everyone, and we really do hope that you're doing okay. We do wish to share some positive Atlas related news though, because during lockdown we held a series of webinars going through Atlas basics and teaching some additional tips and tricks. And we were really stoked with how many people participated, but also the autumn seasonal effort was the largest by far, which was really unexpected.
There were over 15,000 checklists submitted over those 3 months, and we gained a whole bunch of new atlases to the birding community. So despite only being able to atlas in our backyards, we still got a massive data set.
So it's still quite early in the Atlas, but we have done a quick analysis of the first year, and Pat has done some species maps. So we've looked at the top 3 species that have been detected in the Atlas.
The third most widely detected species was New Zealand fantail, or P. waka waka, which was detected in over 1,700 squares. The second place was a chaffinch, detected in just over 1,800 squares. And the most widely detected species was the blackbird, detected in a whopping 1,885 squares. From these maps we can see how ubiquitous these species are, all the way from the tip of the North Island down to Stewart Island.
In the 5-year period from 1999 to 2004, tui were shown to be widely distributed across the North Island, but mainly west of the Divide in the South Island. Already in the first year of this Atlas, we can see a very similar distribution. Obviously this picture is incomplete, but gives us a good indication of what we can expect after the 5 years of field data.
Whilst we do caution making strong conclusions from just the first year data set, we have started to look at some other endemic species as well, such as tomtit. When we look at that data and superimpose it onto satellite imagery, we can see that actually they're kind of locked into remnant patches of bush. However, with only 70% of the grid squares having data in them, there are very likely areas where we haven't surveyed, but there are tomtit present. If we were to look at the last Atlas and compare it to what we've got so far, we would probably say that tomtit aren't as widely distributed. Whether this is a reflection of tomtits actually declining, or whether this is really just a reflection of reduced effort or not enough effort, we just don't know yet. However, we can use that to tailor our atlasing effort, to go into further backcountry squares, to go into areas where there hasn't been a lot of effort put in, and use that going forward. We know that this is probably true and reflective of many of New Zealand's native and endemic species.
So we've had an amazing year 1, but we've still got plenty of work to do, 4 more years of atlasing. And if we continue on the same way we're going to have a vast data set rivaled by no other atlas.
So we've finished the first year of the Atlas, and now we're looking at what we want to do for the next 48 months. And we found that a lot of the effort so far is around the highways and roads. And we know this because Pat has made some maps and he's overlaid the highways and the major roads with the effort that's been put in, and you can see how correlated these two are.
What we all need to start thinking about is parking the car and venturing out into the bush and tramps more, and exploring more of the backcountry. And that doesn't just mean national parks, but also the rural and agricultural landscapes too.
What's more, from the effort data, you can see that regions are going to have to help each other. Regions with higher membership, mostly around the more populated centres, have far more data than those more rural setting. So it's time for us in those more populated areas to jump across the border and help our neighbours by atlasing there to spread out the atlas effort.
Gaps are still present, but we knew that that was going to be the case going into this atlas. Particularly, we knew that there were going to be certain areas that were going to be a bit of a fun challenge to try and get there and get some surveying done. These areas are often where there is a lower Birds New Zealand membership or indeed a lower human population. So what we want the Atlas community to start doing, and what we're encouraging atlases to do, is as groups, as regions, as individuals, is to start going to these areas with little or no effort.
At the same stage in the last atlas, they had 50% of grid squares surveyed, and they went on to survey over 95% of grid squares. So we're in an awesome position to potentially get all the grid squares.
So a great thing with the atlas is that we have the atlas effort map, so we can use this to see gaps where there hasn't been data put in yet, but we can also use it for other things, so we can see where there's only been one checklist submitted or where the species count is quite low, and then we can use that to tailor our atlasing efforts, so we can go to those areas that have got less data on them.
Remember, the simple aim for each and every atlaser is to observe and detect all of the possible species within each grid square across all 4 seasons. So we know that we're going to have to start going into further areas of bush. We're going to have to sort of push further down the coast, as well as going into more rural and agricultural areas to try and detect all of the possible species. Whilst also remembering that we need to go there in winter, in spring, summer, and autumn. So ultimately, there is still heaps of birding to be done by everyone, and even for those people who can't necessarily venture very far, just remember that your backyard lists are still just as important as they were at the start, and they still are of value to the atlas.
For those of you who aren't aware, we also have the Merlin Bird ID app. This works intimately with the eBird app. We worked with Cornell to develop a New Zealand Bird ID pack, which has species accounts for 257 species, including audio and photo for all those species. The app works really well. You can take a photo of a bird in the field, upload it, and it can identify it for you. So the more photos and audio that you put into eBird, the more accurate and powerful this tool becomes.
The Atlas is the Society's flagship project, and to date it's been going really, really well. So great work, team. From the Society and the Atlas team, thank you for taking part.
We hope you're having fun and continue to enjoy this challenge along with the rest of the Atlas community. There is still a lot to be done, but that excites us, and we hope that it excites you too. Hopefully catch you out there at some point, and of course, if you need any help at all, please feel free to get in touch with us. That's what we're here to do.